Grandma's meat pie. First, we're going to start off with just cleaning the meat. That's removing any excess fat, silver skins, tough parts of the meat, and tendons that run through the meat. Once the meat is cleaned, then you're going to want to cut it into cubes. I cut it into like 1 centimeter cubes. You can cut it into any size that you want, but I want it to match all the vegetables. You're going to add butter to a pan, start heating it up, get it ready for the meat. You're going to add the meat and then start browning it while you cut up your other vegetables. First vegetable up is going to be onion. I cut it medium dice so that it matches the cubed beef that we already have. And then you're going to throw it in with the beef and then start sauteing it until it's transparent. You will be adding more vegetables. Next vegetable up on the list is carrots. This is a neat way where I cut the one edge off so it sits flat on the cutting board so you can get better cuts of your carrots. Cuts like cubes like I just did. Now you're going to add it into your mixture of beef and onions and continue to saute it down. Now we're going to cut down the celery into cubes. Just make sure it's matching all the other vegetables and meat. Add your chopped celery to the sauteing vegetables and beef. As your vegetables are sauteing, you can just prep your turnip by cutting it into cubes. Once the vegetables are aromatic and the onions are transparent, you're going to want to transfer them into a pot. I rinsed out the pan that I cooked the vegetables in with stock and then added the stock to the pot. I did forget one step, adding the turnip to the meat pie filling. And what's a meat pie without potatoes? I cut the potatoes into cubes and I placed them in water because I want to cook the other vegetables and the turnip before adding the potato. Once a turnip is cooked, it will turn a darker yellow. That's when you're going to want to add in your potatoes and then mix them in well. Once the potatoes are cooked, they will soften up. That's when you're going to want to start making your roux to thicken your meat pie filling. A roux is equal fat and flours. Today we used butter and gluten-free flour. You just want to melt the butter and then stir in the flour into it. You'll start making this thick, doughy paste, and then you can control what color. I cooked the roux to about this consistency and then set it aside. As you do want to cook the stew and make sure the vegetables are cooked. When the vegetables are done in your meat pie filling, you're going to want to thicken it with the roux. You're going to add the roux slowly by stirring liquid into the pan and working it smooth, then pouring it into your stew and continue stirring it until it is smooth. And you should notice it thickening it up instantly. Just put on a low simmer so it thickens. This is Grandma's famous pie crust recipe. The only thing I modified in here is that I used 2 different types of gluten-free all-purpose flour. The rest is the exact same. Half a tablespoon of cane sugar, half a teaspoon of sea salt, and mix all the dry ingredients together. Canadian butter has it marked on the side, right down the middle for the butter, half a pound. I then chopped it up into little cubes and then put it in the cold butter makes it easier to incorporate into the dry ingredients. First step is you're going to get your dry ingredients, put them in the food processor with the cold butter. Now we're going to incorporate the butter into the flour, which is also called cutting it in. This is the first time I used a food processor. It worked out well the first time blending. As you see, the consistency you're looking for is little butter balls that when you grab them, they actually are formed. What happens next is that I put too much butter and not enough flour, and when I mix it, it came into like a paste. To save the pie dough, I mixed it in with the rest of the dough, which then made it all real clumpy. I added a little bit of cold water just to form the ball of dough. Added a little more flour to it. The dough was a little sticky, and then I placed it back in the bowl and then put it in the fridge to cool down so it would harden. Once the dough is removed from the refrigerator, it is a lot easier to work with. You do cut it in half because you have a top and a bottom to the pie. I'm just rolling it out through extra flour so it doesn't stick. Unfortunately, we don't have a rolling pin, so I made best what I had. And the best we had was a jar that I keep my gluten-free flour in. And I just rolled it out. I kept the pie shell close so that I would remember what size I have to make it. So you don't make it too big, you don't make it too thin in some spots. Once you rolled out the pie dough and it fits your shell, you're gonna place it in and then clip all the edges off so that it is ready to be filled with your meat pie filling. Once you're done with the bottom, then you're gonna roll out the top and just set it aside. Now you're done the top and bottom. Now you need to fill the bottom with the beef meat filling. There's no secret to it, just leave a little bit of the rim at the tops. You leave an edge on the pie so you can connect the top to it with egg wash. One mistake we made, I got excited and threw the pie crust on before I put the egg wash on, so then I had to backtrack the whole time. This is the short video of that happening. So the mistake that was made is that I didn't egg wash the top and bottom so that they would stick, and then I had to come back and peel back the edge and put egg wash underneath and then fork it all down, which then led to a little bit of a mess, a little bit thicker crust in some spots, more than I would like to have had. Once you sealed the top and the bottom, you're going to want to egg wash the whole top of the pie, as well as you're going to want to cut a ventilation hole in it so that if the liquid starts to boil and expand, it won't pop the crust of the pie. Once your pie is egg washed and the ventilation holes cut, go set your oven till about 300 and then pop it inside. You're going to bake the pie for about 30 to 40 minutes depending on what kind of oven you have. We have a toaster oven, so it actually gets pretty warm in there and bakes quite evenly. After your pie crust is brown and it looks good enough for you, you're going to pull it out and then let it sit for about 15 minutes. Grandma always had the pies cooling on the windowsill. After letting it cool down for about 15 minutes, you're going to want to cut it. We're big boys, so we cut it into fours. Probably not the best move because when I tried to remove it, it did not come in one piece. It came in a bunch of pieces. But as you can see from this picture, it is actually really well done. It was really good, except for the dough on the crust was a little too much, I thought. To help this problem, you can just roll it out a little thinner on the top piece so when you mash them together, it's not such thick crust. Thanks for watching and enjoy.